It's been 2 years since a deadly terrorist attack right here in Pensacola claimed the lives of 3 service members and injured multiple others. Families of those victims are now suing Saudi Arabia, alleging that the kingdom ignored multiple red flags and ultimately did nothing to stop the attack. Attorney Chris Paulus joins me now to talk about this. Now, Chris, you've been one of the premier lawyers working on this case here. And just real quick to kind of rehash what happened, tell us about the attack itself.
Well, on December 6, 2019, Second Lieutenant Al-Shamrani, a flight student here at NAS Pensacola, and a officer in the Saudi Royal Air Force, entered Building 633 on a fortified military base with high-capacity magazines and a Glock handgun, and proceeded to shoot fellow soldiers and officers that were in that building, and injuring and killing up to 13 people on that fateful morning. I represent the first responders who were there, who engaged Second Lieutenant Al-Shamrani and ultimately neutralized the threat, but in doing so were also shot and injured themselves. And it's been a devastating attack in Pensacola and on our military. It was the first Al-Qaeda terrorist attack on U.S. soil since 9/11.
And so that's the point, that's where we're getting to in the lawsuit here is this individual, the one who carried out the shooting, is alleged to have been radicalized by Al-Qaeda. And there were plenty of warnings. I mean, based on just what I'm reading, even from ABC News, they say he had told other people on the base, his fellow Saudi Arabian, members, I'm going to do this. But rather than alert somebody, they just called in sick the day of the shooting is what I've read. I mean, what do we know?
So, we're still learning a lot, but we do know quite a bit. And the government itself, the Attorney General Barr at the time came out and said that this was a terrorist attack. We know for a fact that Al-Shamrani had joined and pledged Biyat, or loyalty to Al-Qaeda, prior to ever joining the Saudi military. When he joined the Saudi military, he told family and friends that he was on a special mission. He then moved quickly through the ranks and was hand-selected by the Saudi government to come here to the United States to participate in flight training with the U.S. Navy. We know that he purchased a handgun and kept handgun and large amounts of ammunition in his barracks that should have been routinely inspected by his superior Saudi officers. And we also know that the night before the attack and the murders, that he hosted a dinner party with his fellow Saudi officers at which they were watching videos online of other rampages and killings. The signs were all there, and the knowledge by Saudi Arabia had to have been there. They were under a duty to understand what their flight students were doing here, to have fully vetted them prior to joining the military, and certainly before sending them over here to the United States. There's no fathomable way that they weren't aware of what his intentions were and what his capabilities were. And he was publicly posting on his Twitter feed throughout his time in the Saudi military anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Western rhetoric. He was retweeting Al-Qaeda clerics that are followed by Al-Qaeda. So that the signs were there. And it's clear that Saudi Arabia totally failed their duty to select appropriate candidates for flight training and to do anything about the extremism that's percolating through the ranks of their own military.
And so there's also another weird piece of this puzzle here with the lawsuit itself, the service to the Saudi government. You and I have actually spoken off camera about this. So tell everybody, because this is a very weird story. The lawsuit just sat there for quite some time.
So, part of the process of initiating a lawsuit against a foreign country is to serve them appropriately through the proper channels. If you do not follow that procedure precisely into a T, you essentially don't have jurisdiction over that country. Saudi Arabia's lawyers are aware of the lawsuit. Their American lawyers are aware of the lawsuit. We've asked them to accept service pursuant to the law, and they rejected that request. So we've been forced to use the Department of State to serve Saudi Arabia. Department of State has had this lawsuit in their hands since July, and we still have no confirmation that they've actually walked those documents over to the embassy in Riyadh. It's, I think, even with traffic, about a 10-minute drive. And we know that those documents have been in Saudi Arabia since October. Still, for some reason, we haven't been told that they have actually passed this lawsuit on to the appropriate counterparties there in Saudi Arabia.
That is absolutely. I mean, as far as I can see, there's no excuse for this. You know,
Absolutely not.
We're over 2 years now. We just passed the 2-year anniversary of this particular attack. The lawsuit, was official, I guess, as of February. They've had it since July. Definitely had it since October. 10 minutes down the road. This is absolutely a failure of the State Department, I believe, as well. You don't have to say that, but I think it is a failure of them. But most importantly, these channels that we have to go through, as you said, they are so important. So hands are almost tied. We can put pressure, we can do what we can, but can't step out of that line for fear of losing the jurisdiction over this lawsuit. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. I mean, we are following the law as precisely as we can, and we're ready to proceed with the lawsuit. We have been since the day that we filed it. And so we're expecting the Department of State to do what they're statutorily required to do to serve these documents. At this point, there really is no excuse for the delay. We've had better success serving documents to the State Department with countries that we have no diplomatic relations with, like Iran, than we have with Saudi Arabia, who is a purported ally, a purported close ally, and somebody that we certainly should be communicating with clearly through diplomatic channels.
That has been exceptionally unfortunate from this administration. Chris Paulos, best of luck with this case. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
And that's all for tonight. Find us on Twitter and Facebook at facebook.com/RT America's Lawyer. You can also stream us live on YouTube, and be sure to check out RT's portable app where you can watch all of your favorite shows. I'm Farron Cousins in for Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer, where every week we tell you the stories that corporate media is ordered not to tell because their advertisers won't let them. Have a great night.